Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with the Chairman. This afternoon, we're going to be talking to two guests. One is Martel Armstrong, who is the current CEO and Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Elgin, and he's had that post since 2019. And he has worked a total of 15 years with public housing authorities. The second gentleman is Larry Bittner, and Larry has been a construction volunteer for 15 years with Habitat for Humanity, and recently he has retired from the board of directors of the Habitat for Humanity of Northern Fox Valley. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So, Martel, why don't you start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Martel Armstrong, as you said, the CEO, Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Elgin. I've worked in housing pretty much the balance of my career, which is I graduated undergrad from Appalachian State in 2000. And so I've been in the public housing space for 16 plus years. Originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. Actually went to college and high school in North Carolina. I was actually a state champion wrestling there. And
Very cool.
So I ended up getting a in-state scholarship to Appalachian State. And eventually, like I say, went into the housing industry. And at the point in my career where I started moving up, and I moved from Cincinnati, and I've overseen 4 housing authorities in my career. Proud to call Elgin my home. Here in Elgin, I am the president of the local Kiwanis chapters, and I sit on various boards, including the Kane County Zoning Appeals Board. I received my master's in business administration from Loyola University Chicago. Graduated that in 2021, and now I'm pursuing a second master's degree in real estate development from Auburn University in Alabama.
Oh, yes. What is it, Roar Eagle or whatever?
War Eagle. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very passionate saying for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Appalachian State is beautiful.
It is.
Beautiful
it's very
country
beautiful.
up there.
It's very captivating.
And that's how I got involved with Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, wow.
I was living in Tarboro, North Carolina,
Okay, yeah.
and they recruited me because of my own desire to make sure that people had good housing.
Yeah.
So well needed, well
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah.
So please, Larry.
I'm Larry Bittner. I have spent most of my career in financial services, money center banks, technology-related opportunities within those, managing services for banking clients. I have been a Habitat construction volunteer for probably 15 or 17 years. I've also most recently retired from the Habitat Northern Fox Valley Board, for which I was on the board for 10 years. I am a native of New York. My accent will probably come out pretty thick as we start talking, which usually is the case. I went to St. John's University in New York. I currently am retired and I live in Inverness.
This is amazingly coincidental. I taught at St. John's University for a very long time.
Oh, wow.
Both the Queens and Staten Island campuses.
Oh, fantastic. So you know Lou Carnesecca and the Sweaters?
Well, no. It was before my time, but
Okay.
yes, I know of the legend.
Yes, he's still alive and he is a legend.
Yes, indeed, the Redmond.
Yes,
Yes, which they changed.
to the Red Storm.
Yes,
right.
correct, that is correct. So Kane County has just recently passed a responsible bidder ordinance, and which I'm very proud of. The board worked very hard to achieve that goal. And one of the things that changed here, which brought the interest for apprenticeships, is one, being a professor and knowing the importance of education and continuing education towards a career. But the fact now that anybody who has application to do a bid on one of our construction projects has to make sure they have an apprenticeship program. But it comes to light that many of our youth don't have the skill set to be able to pass the examination to become an apprentice. So got involved with pre-apprenticeship programs to learn more about that, and both of you wonderfully all of a sudden came to light that you've received opportunities to train pre-apprenticeship programs. So Larry, why don't we start with Habitat for Humanity?
Well, Habitat is best known for providing affordable housing for deserving families. And one of the things that we reflected on recently is that our construction sites are also an educational opportunity for people who are interested in careers in the construction industry. So what we have formed is a pre-apprenticeship program called Jumpstart. It allows candidates to go through a 12-week Saturday program, a paid position, and they will learn some of the basic skills necessary for the construction trade, particularly home construction. At the end of the program, we're looking to align our candidates with employers so that they will be able to use the skills that they just acquired. But also important to the employers is that during this 12-week period, we've assessed the candidate for their interest in the trades, so that they're getting a vetted employee or a candidate that they know is interested in the trades and will be there for a long time with them.
Okay. Martel, what about your program? It's slightly different.
Yeah, it's a little different, although Habitat has been gracious enough to be one of our partners, and that is very important because their partnership and interest in working with us has been very pivotal and instrumental of us securing this opportunity. So thank you. And I've already thanked Barb. With that being said,
And Barb is?
Barb Beckman is the CEO of
Habitat North of Fox Valley.
Yeah. With that being said, our opportunity is called Youth Build. Youth Build is a program that is administered through the Department of Labor, and the Department of Labor has earmarked $90 million in grant funds for such Youth Build grants. So half of that $90 million went to refund current programs. The other half is to fund startup programs such as the Housing Authority of Elgin's. And the way the grant works is that we will work with disadvantaged youth on a pre-apprenticeship basis, and mainly we'll help them finish their education, their GED, and we will also teach them construction skill sets. And the idea is that at the end of their cohort with us, that they will work on one unit of affordable housing, and we will help to place them into some more permanent and stable employment or apprenticeship. There's a lot of tie-in between housing. As you know, housing intersects with a lot of things in our lives. So I'm proud of this opportunity because there's a lot of tie-in, mainly because it helps with the preservation of affordable housing in the area. As you know, affordable housing is always a challenge. I think the 8th Congressional District, which encompass Elgin, there's something like 22,000, shortage of 22,000 units of affordable housing, and something like over 40% of the renters have a severe rent burden, meaning that they're paying more than 50% of their income for household expenses. And the stats go on, the number of hours per week that you would need to work at minimum wage, which is 86 hours per week, just to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. And the statistics go on, the demographics go on. Specifically with this opportunity, Elgin, U46 has a dropout rate above 3%, something like 3.6%. And when you look at, when you segment that more into race and ethnic categories, then those numbers start to climb. So we think that this is a really timely opportunity. And there's also an aspect of violence intervention. In other words, the idea is to keep them busy, give them opportunities, give them stipends so that that in and of itself will help with violence intervention.
Very good, very good. Notable, very notable cause. So Larry, your program starts at 18. Your program starts at 16. Why did you choose 18? Because I assume that these individuals would be high school graduates or GED graduates.
Yeah, one of the things that we have to deal with is insurance liability.
Okay.
All right, so 18 tends to be where our insurance carriers want to provide coverage, particularly workman's comp, because they are being paid for these positions. We are exploring reaching out to the high schools and trying to determine whether there's an opportunity to collaborate, and sometimes in that process we can co-share some of the insurance carryover from one another.
Okay, very good. And do you also provide a stipend? And what does that stipend look like?
Sure, we provide a stipend, as Mattel mentioned. It's $18 an hour, all right? And it provides an incentive, as he mentioned, for people to show up. It's not, a minimum wage opportunity. This is an entry level pay grade to get into the construction industry.
Okay, very good, very good. Now, I noticed that on the state, with Prevailing Wage Act, apprenticeships are not paid unless you are in a formal apprenticeship training program. Otherwise, you get paid as a journeyman. But the apprenticeship training program is exactly for this purpose, to enter into that. And journeyman wages go anywhere from $44 an hour up to $65 an hour.
Yeah.
And it really launches people into the middle class.
Yes.
So is that part of your education, to show people, these youth, both men and women, that this is an opportunity to really elevate themselves into those kinds of positions without the burden of having to pay back student loans for a college education they might feel is not just for them?
Well, these programs provide, the Jump Start, the name of our program, to get people to think about, a long-term career in the trades. And, with our entry-level stipend that we're offering, it sets the stage and the expectation that, there's more out in front of them that they can look forward to earn as they go forward. They're not starting really at the bottom. They're starting at a point where they're going to be entering into a career that will pay them long-term salaries that'll support a family. One of the things in the context of Habitat, all right, is we provide housing for affordable for families. But the last thing we want to happen is a Habitat family, the next generation is a Habitat owner, all right? Because if the family has not progressed its income and they see the opportunity of growth, all right, we may have solved this generation's issues for affordable housing and keeping the family unit together. But the challenge is you want to create that expectation that the next generation can see that this opportunity through Habitat built my next opportunity for my career, for me and for a family. So
Generational wealth,
Yes.
generational wealth.
Yes.
So, Martel, with your program, how does it differentiate from Habitats? What do you do differently? And how do they complement each other?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, I think Larry very eloquently answered your question. From the Housing Authority's point of view, we have to adhere to Davis-Bacon and related acts. So the pre-apprenticeship is a little different, but when we are doing local projects and we are, doing brick and mortar building of affordable housing, we do have to pay all laborers at prevailing wage. More specific to your question, our program is really focusing on helping at-risk youth through a pivotal transition period in their life. And we want to make sure that they finish their education and that we give them meaningful skill sets. And by that, what I mean is that we want to give them the requisite training and experience so that they can at least pass the entry level of job placement or apprenticeship. Where it's going to be similar is obviously there's a requirement that our youth also work on at least one unit of affordable housing. And with that being said, we do have to have a covenant in that deed that that unit will stay affordable. So there's a tie-in with Habitat. And again, you know, their executive director has been so gracious enough to work with us and allow us to work on some of their units so that we can satisfy that requirement, so that our kids that we're working with can actually have one unit of affordable housing. You know, they do rehab or they do build up from slab on grade and build up. And those are excellent learning opportunities for our kids.
And a sense of pride, I would imagine.
Yeah, one of the key things that Martel's program is doing, and you know, they're able to do this over a longer period of time and the type of program you're developing, that educational component is really important. You think the trades is just about a hammer and a nail and you got to meet the two and that's it, all right?
And that's hard.
That's hard enough, follow that finger, all right? But construction math, all right, you don't think about it, all right? You know, how do you use a tape measure? How do you use and figure out the angles of a wall or a roof, all right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all basic math, all right? And we're not in a position to do that type of depth training, all right? But Martel's group is really going to really support that knowledge set that's really important to be very successful in the trades going forward.
Absolutely. And how about mentorship? Do you have people working with the youth to mentor them?
Yes.
Because there may be other issues that are involved with their ability to achieve,
Yes,
self-questioning,
exactly.
etc.
Yeah, well, in our case, we do have that built in. So we do have requirements. 50% of their time needs to be spent towards education, 40% of their time towards construction trades and learning that and applying that, and then 10% on supportive services. Now, supportive services is going to encompass anything that will help them to finish the program successfully. And obviously, like you said, you know, that encompasses a few different things, you know, from drug abuse or drug addiction referrals to legal help to financial counseling to even referrals for WIC and food, transportation, a whole host of things.
Childcare?
Childcare, yes,
Excellent.
absolutely.
Excellent.
Childcare is one of those. So we do have, and we have a commitment from several partners and stakeholders throughout the Elgin area to provide matching services. That's one of the provisions of the grant as well, is that 25% of our funded amount will go towards matching services. And a lot of those are centered around those supportive services.
Excellent, excellent. So what is
Maybe
this?
just a little bit
sure.
to add on. One of the things that we're doing at the back end of our program is focusing on interview skills.
Good.
Resume writing,
Good.
all right? How do you position yourself for that job, right? You may now know which end of the hammer to use, but if you can't present yourself as a candidate, as a potential person to be employed, you know, you may undermine all the work that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
So as
Yeah.
Martel is saying, there's a host of things that go into this that are beyond just the construction element of a program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Obviously, we focus on that as well, and we do have a partnership with the Kane County Workforce Development Center, and they'll be working with us to help to develop those skill sets as well as interviewing and job skills and things like that. And we'll provide incentive pay for the youth that participate in that as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And how about, because I know a little bit about this, how about clothing? Do you also support the interview attire?
Yes, yeah, that's a good question. We will. That is written into the grant, and that is also one of those provisions of supportive services.
Wonderful, wonderful.
We do the same. We provide the construction apparel in the context of
Correct.
hammers, belts, helmets, shoe toes, and those kinds of things that are necessary not only to show up for the job, but to be safe on the job.
Oh, very important. No, absolutely, because we don't want people getting hurt.
No.
Right.
You have to have good equipment. So we talked about affordable housing. I'm very familiar, and we're working with the county to develop workforce housing, which is middle-income housing that people still can't afford to rent or hardly even purchase a property here in Kane County. But affordable housing is what? What are we looking at? What kind of income are we talking about? What does that mean?
Generally, what affordable housing means is that you take your median income for an area, and obviously, median is a statistical term. So you're looking at the middle income, and then you're going anywhere between 0 to 80% of that median income for a particular area. In our case, we are grouped in with the entire Chicagoland. So statistically, they're looking at the income spread for the Chicagoland and then saying what is the 80% mark and what is 0 of that. And anybody who falls in that spectrum would be eligible for our services. Now, rent would be a little different because the rents in Elgin is a little different than what might occur in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So we have different what's called payment standards, and that payment standard is going to be based on a study indices of fair market rents. But more to your point, more to your question, affordable housing is going to be 0 to 80% of the median area income.
Okay, all right. And how about habitat? What are your restrictions with habitat?
Well, basically, for a family to qualify for a Habitat house.
And these are houses now, not apartments.
That is correct.
Okay.
All right. They typically have to have a good credit score. All right. That doesn't mean they're making a lot of money, but they have to have a good credit score showing that they are responsible for their debt. They've had consistent employment. All right. We look at the rent burden that they are paying now as a percentage against their total income. And we look at making sure that it's around 30%. That's the threshold that we look for. And then we calculate a mortgage to see how they can fit into that. All right. One of the key things is that in the Habitat program, the homeowner has to put in 250 hours of sweat equity to do that. They have to stay in the house for a minimum of 5 years. Right? They also get a subsidized mortgage. Right? They pay a mortgage payment to Habitat. The interest rate for the mortgage is 0, so they're basically paying principal and taxes, right? Which creates an opportunity for the family to stabilize in an economic case that is more affordable for them to raise a family. Typically, our underwriting is based on number of people in the family unit, so we look at that ratio as well. But typical salaries are somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000, depending on how many people are in the family unit.
Okay, that's modest.
Yes.
That's a modest income.
Yes. So.
And you're building wealth for those
Yes.
families.
And one of the key things that is somewhat amazing to me as a volunteer and also as a board member, Habitat Northern Fox Valley has built 156 homes. We've had 1 foreclosure. When you think of all that occurred in 2008 and 2009, where foreclosure rates were out of sight, right? Ask any banker, and they were crazed as to how much was going under. People who come and get a Habitat house realize the opportunity that they've achieved, right? And they're committed to stay in that house, right? So it's just really remarkable, their fortitude to make sure that they can stay in the house that they've been able to help build and then raise their family.
What a great sense of pride.
Yes.
Great sense of pride.
Yeah.
I would be afraid if somebody asked me to do something on the plumbing of my house. I would go, yeah, right, yeah.
Well, we have a job for everybody, all right? A broom is a job, all right? So,
Martel, now tell me about the people who earn housing with you. Now there are apartments, there's mixed units, correct?
Yeah, so housing programs can be very segmented, and it can be a little esoteric at times. The commonality is that we're dealing with this median income and 80% or below of that median income. But we do have a number of programs. We have our Housing Choice Voucher Program, and that allows a person to transfer the subsidy with them as they move from unit to unit, as long as the landlord, or the owner, I should say, accepts that subsidy.
All right.
And then, we have the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program, and that allows us to partner or sometimes build ourselves. More than likely, we partner with a independent landlord, and we'll assign a certain amount of vouchers to that building, and that's called project-based vouchers. And in that case, then the subsidy stays with the unit, is tied into the unit, and not with the person. Yeah. Those are the main differences. In the past, we've had traditional public housing, and that means that the housing authority owns, operates, and maintains the units, and we get funding from the federal government for all of that type of overhead. We've converted our portfolio to be more of a tax credit, a low-income tax credit type of ownership structure, and that process is called the Rental Assistance Demonstration. But just to recap, you have some segmentation within these these affordable housing programs, and mainly that segmentation is the voucher and the fact that the subsidy can travel with the person, or whether or not that subsidy is tied to the units, basically. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. This has been a great conversation, and I think everyone learned a great deal about the opportunities that are available. So, Larry, what word would you like to leave with everybody? Do you have enough applicants? Do you have a wait list now?
well, we're having our inaugural program this September,
Okay.
so we're still recruiting. We started recruiting as of August 1st. We have a number of applicants. We're looking to fill the spots soon, all right? We're also looking for employers to reach out to us, that they may be interested in our candidates when they're done.
Excellent.
And we're also asking employers to think about help underwrite the program for the next cohort that we're going to bring after the new year. So it's multi-stepped, but we're very excited about the first step that we're taking this September.
Wonderful, wonderful. Martel, how about you?
Yeah, well, we are now actively working to get the word out and to market our program and to let different, not only children and youth, but also partners know that this opportunity is available. So with that being said, we'll have several speaking engagements lined up soon in the near future, and also recruiting. So you can, if anyone is interested, you can look at our website and just call our general number. And right now we're taking a wait list, and then we'll move into a more formal role of enrollment and evaluating those applicants.
And we'll put both of your numbers on our website,
Okay.
Connected with this program, so that if anybody who's listening would be interested in contacting, you'll have access to those numbers, and they can assist you in helping your child or your nephew or your niece to be able to develop an amazing job in the construction industry and build some houses. So thank you very much, both
Thank you
of
for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you as
Wonderful
well.
conversation.
Great.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.